Hello, this video introduces our coaching module. Some behavior analysts will say that behavioral skills training is the only evidence-based form of staff training, but you'll see in this module there actually is quite a bit of evidence for coaching. We'll not always be able to provide behavioral skills training. Sometimes this is because behavioral skills training can sometimes be kind of time consuming, and we may not always have a good window of time to devote going through those steps. Sometimes there can also be a problem where it can sometimes be hard to provide behavioral skills training when students or other consumers are present. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it can be a little challenging. And those are some situations when it can be good to consider using coaching to train instead. All right, in our first activity in this module, we'll look at an article which provides a baseline condition which is highly similar to typical in-service training, the type of in-service training that you see in schools all the time. This training, the in-service training, it does help to teach discrete trial in this particular article. However, the study also provides evidence that a high level of proficiency was not achieved until additional supervision and feedback was provided. This sort of reminded me of a time several years ago when I provided it in service, and I spent a really long time. I spent so much time creating what I thought would be a very effective talk, and the talk went really well. We had great participation, but luckily in this particular situation, they also hired me to go do follow-up with the teachers. And when I actually went into the classrooms, even the teachers who seemed really excited and interested in implementing the procedures that I had talked about were not really doing anything that I thought was similar to what I had talked about. So as you read this, kind of think about, is there really any point in doing an in-service training if you can't follow up with some additional coaching afterwards? We'll turn next to an article about behavior analysis and collaborative training. I thought this article fit well in this module because unfortunately behavior analysts are not always known for being as collaborative. I think that's something we really need to work on. And being collaborative is especially important when you're a coach. Coaching is probably the most collaborative form of training as opposed to other forms of training which might be more along the lines of a supervisor and a trainee. Okay, our next reading is quite long, and I hope that you will be able to read the entire manual. However, because the reading is so long, I decided to only write questions over the first 2 chapters. That doesn't mean the rest of the manual isn't helpful. It all is quite good. But I wanted to just focus on those first 2 chapters to make it manageable and to give you an opportunity to read about some ways that you can be an effective coach. In this module, we'll also have a series of 3 choice readings, and each choice reading will look at a different type of coaching. Side by side is where the coach and inviting party are together in the same room. It's in real time. Whereas bug and ear training, which I think is a really fascinating form of training, that's where the inviting party wears a listening device in their ear, and the coach is able to provide suggestions in real time. This can be very helpful because once you get used to that type of device in your ear, it can be much less disruptive than side-by-side training. It's also less distracting to the children or whoever you're trying to serve. And then we also have distance coaching, and that's when the coach is in another location altogether. That's becoming, I think, more and more useful in terms of telemedicine. All right, we'll also have a reading on the social validity of bug and ear coaching. I thought this was important because when I first looked at bug and ear coaching, I sort of assumed that the person being coached would not really like it. So I think we need to think about that, and we need to also think about the possibility that if the person being coached doesn't like how they're being coached, there's a good chance that it's more about the coaching than the person who is receiving the coaching. We need to think more about how we can change or individualize our strategies to make the coaching more acceptable. All right, and then we're going to finish this module with a couple of video scenarios of a coaching session. You'll watch each video and then you'll write a short essay about what the coach did well and what areas the coach could improve upon. So I hope you enjoy the coaching module. Be sure to let us know if you have any questions.